Tyson Fury fought, and I didn't even know it was on. So apparently it was on in the middle of the day on a Saturday, and I was moving around. I saw the punches he took, the save. What's the controversy? I saw Mario, yourself, talking about him getting saved by the ropes, or what is this whole thing? I saw Henry talking about you guys don't know what you're talking about. Not you, but talking to the fans out there that don't know what the ropes actually entail. Can you break it down on what?
Yeah, well, if the ropes hold you up after a punch, in other words, if you would have gone down specifically, if the ropes were not there, it's a knockdown. Now, you know, a lot of fighters lean on the ropes because they know where they are, and they're smart about it. Now, I look at that sequence in round 9 with about 30 seconds to go. Even though Tyson Fury hit the ropes a few times, I only thought there was really one time before the knockdown was called where I would have said that specifically was a situation where I would have said, that's it, that's an 8 count. Now, there's no standing 8. I'm sick of people here saying that. Folks, there hasn't been a standing 8 count in boxing for about 25 years. There is no standing 8 count, okay? But could you have made an argument that the fight should have been stopped at a certain point? I think there is an argument. But in all fairness, I think Mark Nelson handled that correctly given the circumstances of that fight, what was at stake. And the last knockdown came right near the end of the round. So I don't think Mark Nelson saved him in that sense because Tyson Fury got up and there was no time left. So if you want to say it was saved by the bell, you can. But I thought Usyk won that fight clearly. I know a lot of people are trying to rationalize their scorecards and saying it was close, or no, the right guy won. From that point on, I thought he swept the last few rounds, and Usyk proved to be, I thought, actually the better boxer, just as tough. He was also the better puncher. He comes out and does a very good job of turning over his knuckles, which is one thing the Fury does not do. He does slap and he does kind of flick out his jab a lot. But if you look at the way Fury punches through the knuckles, has really good tension throughout his forearms, he locks out his elbows and shoulders, that right there, look, he hurt a man that was significantly bigger than him. So the fight was the fight. I thought they got it right. I thought Usyk won that fight.
Shaun, welcome in. I appreciate you coming in. You thought Usyk won that fight too?
Yeah, I did. I thought the scorecards were actually pretty accurate. I thought what we saw was Usyk, I thought, won the first and second round, and I thought Fury had some success, third through maybe 6-ish. The one thing that I agree with Steve that kind of surprised me with Fury, he didn't sit down on any of his punches, which is interesting for a bigger guy because I would have thought he would have wanted to see if he really sat down on a punch, could he hurt Usyk? Because I felt like the body shots were having an impact in the middle rounds. I thought he had Usyk kind of dazed and buzzed at one time, but I don't know. I thought Fury, maybe Fury got old around round 7 or 8 because I thought he kind of got fatigued, Steve, and like what he was doing, the movement, you know, avoiding the punches, counter punching, it slowed down, and then he got caught. And when he got caught,
here's the thing. I didn't like that weight loss from Fury. I think he should have just settled in at what he's been fighting in at. At a certain point or a certain age, when you start cutting weight, even as a heavyweight, if you lose too much, I think there's an impact. But, Shaun, before round 9, if you go to round 8, because you're right, Shaun, I thought from rounds 3 or 4 all the way to 7, it was a Fury fight. We can't have revisionist history. Going into that 8th round, we thought even though the fight may have been close on the cards, all the momentum seemed to suggest this is going to be a Tyson Fury fight. But in the 8th round, Fury got hit with a good left and then a sweeping right hook near the end of the round that drew blood. And then as he sat down, you saw that his right eye was a little bit swollen, had a bit of a mouse. That, to me, was really when the fight changed. It wasn't just round 9. Round 9's obvious. And when you see that particular sequence of events from rounds 8 to 9, Usyk again showed he's the cleaner, harder puncher, and he took back physical and tactical control of that bout. And I'm with you, Shaun. I thought the first couple rounds went to Usyk. The middle rounds were controlled by Fury. And then the last third or fourth of that fight, Usyk, I thought, sealed the deal.
Let me ask you: is there a clause? Is there a rematch clause? Did this happen? Is it going to happen?
Yes. Well, there's a rematch clause, and they're talking about October. But with Tyson Fury, you never know, because keep this in mind. This fight was supposed to be December 23rd. Then it was supposed to be mid-February, and it ended up being this Saturday. So take that for what you will.
Kind of the only thing that stinks for Usyk is he's kind of been an unknown fighter to the American public. And when he finally gets his big fight, at least as far as America is concerned, he doesn't really have any major competition. He's already beaten Anthony Joshua twice. Fury, to me, is going to retire. Fury looked old the last third of that fight. He got tired. He got fatigued. He couldn't get out of the way of the punches he was avoiding. He don't really have Jared Anderson, probably is still a little away. That's the only thing that kind of stinks for Usyk. He's kind of going to be a heavyweight champ in anonymity.
Well, I mean, look, that fight was viewed by a lot of people, and he's making tens of millions. I think he'll be okay. He's a little bit different guy. Usyk,
how old's Fury?
Fury's 35, but his body's probably going on 45. He's not been a Spartan lifestyle.
But JB and Steve, here's what's crazy. Usyk's 37.
He's 37, but
he's older.
No, but I think his body is aged differently, though. He's a much more disciplined guy. There's been much less abuse physically, and also in terms of his personal habits. You know, and you bring up Jared Anderson, Shaun, when you're 24 and you say, well, I want to be out of here by 27. All right, you know what? Go now. Go now. I like Jared, but if you're already talking retirement and every fight is this pity party, I don't want to box. Good. Go to LinkedIn, put in your resume, work at Kinko's, brother. Boxing will go on just fine. I'm so sick and tired of today's fighters bitching and moaning. Look, do your job or not.
Is it fighters? Steve, is it fighters or pro athletes? Devontae Parker retired at 31 today.
But he put in 9 years. And look, for him to say, I want to spend time with my 4 kids, I can handle that. I think that's actually very noble.
But is it 4 kids from 4 baby mamas? Is it Tyreek Hill or not?
They still need fathers. I mean, as Ed O.G. and the Bulldogs once said, be a father to a child.
Let me be clear here. I've kind of not soured, but I plateaued on Jared Anderson myself. I simply brought his name up because he was the potential big fight about a year and a half ago. He was viewed as the next guy. And so now that he's kind of plateaued, I'm saying Usyk doesn't really have like a legit dance partner as we sit here right now.
No, but you know, look, Usyk's been undisputed at cruiserweight and heavyweight, and he makes an argument for being the best fighter in the world pound for pound. To me, it's 3 guys: Inoue, Crawford, him. Everyone else, you're not even the same class. But Usyk, I think, is already at the tail end. He's a different type of guy. He's one of these Eastern Europeans. He's from Ukraine. Their mindset is different. They don't look at social media or fame and fortune as this narcotic. They're here to make a living. They're very focused. They're very disciplined. And they have a different mindset than American athletes. The thing that gets me about Jared Anderson is that I thought he's the best pure American heavyweight prospect from the amateurs since Riddick Bowe. I thought he had that much ability. But every time he does an interview, it's like, I don't have to box. I don't want to. Then don't. We're good. There's nothing to say, well, Jared Anderson is retired. I'm not going to say, well, we need to shut down boxing. No, just go. Jared, get a job. We're good. It overcame Jack Dempsey. It overcame the retirement of Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, Muhammad Ali. Mike, guess what? It might survive not having you, Jared. We're good.
And I kind of get disappointed in it because the energy in the interviews has kind of spilled over into the fights.
Yes. Like that last fight was awful, Shaun.
Yeah, he's become kind of boring, kind of monotonous. So, hey, Jared, man, you got it in you, man. Come on, we need you, baby.
Does he?
I'll ask you this, and while we're on boxing, Anthony Joshua is the only one that looks like he's still getting gradually better. Like, guy that started boxing really late, doesn't have the pedigree and background of the Usyks and stuff. Any part of you feel like if Anthony continues to he'd have a shot in a fight 3 versus Usyk?
Look, he's gotten better because recently he fought a lot more. As I like to say, activity matters. They finally took my advice. The old Kimster kind of knows what he's talking about here. Anthony Joshua, in my view, his performance in the rematch with Usyk is actually underrated. If you go back to that fight, Shaun, in round 9, Joshua was starting to get to Usyk. He was chipping away at the body. And I remember as the bell rang for that round to end, I said, oh, it's 5-4 Usyk. And the bigger guy is starting to get to that body. But once again, Usyk showed his clutch gene, the character and the integrity he had, because he came up with the big 10th. But I remember after watching that fight, even though Joshua lost, I said, you know what? You showed a lot here. You showed a lot, and he's begun to actually retool himself. And I said something on the 3 knockdown rule that me and Mario disagreed with. If Joshua fought Fury in 4 to 6 months, I think right now Joshua would be the favorite over Fury. I never thought I'd say that a year ago, but I say it now, Shaun.
I think if Fury fought Joshua instead of Usyk, I think this version of Joshua in May of 24 is better than the version of Fury in May of 24. Let's be honest with Fury.
I don't disagree.
Fury got nothing to be disappointed about, JB. Man, Fury has overachieved at an unbelievable level. There's no way you can look at Tyson Fury and say he would have been unified heavyweight champion. People would have been having conversations about him being like an all-time top 20 heavyweight.
Oh, but Shaun, didn't you hear that, though? That's the thing.
Like, he got nothing to be ashamed about whatsoever.
This ESPN propaganda and these British homers that were literally saying that Tyson Fury is not only among the all-time great heavyweights, but maybe the greatest ever. And I said, folks, you take away Deontay Wilder, who's very flawed himself. He's had one of the weakest heavyweight runs.
He did beat Klitschko, though.
Okay, at the very tail end. But he also took 2.5 years off right after that.
Right.
And Chris Algieri on a show that he does with Pro Box, I like Chris. Chris says, well, that's a guy that could have competed in any era. Oh, really? So if you would have said to Fury, you have to fight 4 to 5 to 6 times a year like the way the old guys did, he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it.
In Chris's defense, though, I think he was talking about the focused, I'm willing to die in the ring Tyson Fury that fought Deontay Wilder in fight 1 has a shot because of the size dimensions against everybody. I don't think he was saying that he'd be favored, but
that's a good, okay. To win a jump ball. He just got beat by a guy he called a rabbit. And the rabbit got the gun. I didn't call him a rabbit. I would never do that. Tyson Fury called him a middleweight.
Hey, JB,
I didn't call him a middleweight.
So Steve knows boxing, right? And a lot of people don't know this, but like outside of football, boxing is like the second sport I'm most passionate about. Tyson came in really big about a decade ago and fought an undersized guy named Steve Cunningham.
Got knocked down.
It was life and death. And you could see that he thought the answer against an undersized guy was to lose all the weight and go back to boxing, which is what he tried to do against Usyk. And I think it worked, Steve, but I think he ran out of gas. I think the weight loss and the age caught up with him in that fight.
Shaun, in that fight, the way he turned the tide after he got dumped on his ass by Cunningham with that overhand right was to lean on him. Mm-hmm. He became the bigger guy and he mauled him. Okay, it was not an aesthetically pleasing fight. I remember it was on NBC on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Because later that night I was in Texas. I went to the Canelo Alvarez Austin Trout fight. Okay, here's the problem, and you saw this fight. Anytime Tyson clinched on the inside and tried to grapple him, here's the issue. If you look at the way they are built, Alexander Usyk, unlike Tyson Fury, did not skip leg days. And the shorter guy had the inside upper leverage, and every time they clinched, he got right underneath them and he rooted them out. I thought Tyson Fury was better off coming in heavier if he's gonna do that.
Hey JB, we're not gonna let Steve get away with that. Tyson didn't skip leg day. Those little X and Y chromosomes swam around Leg Island. Like he just ain't blessed with legs.
Well, then hit the squat rack.
Squats all day.
Hit the squat rack. I mean, but here's the other thing, though. All I'm saying is this. If you look at Tyson Fury's resume, Sefer Safari, Francisco Pianetta, a bunch of British guys at the tail end, Tom, may the Schwartz be with you, Otto Wallin, who may have actually cut him up and should have been a stoppage. Nothing there claims to me, well, that's an all-time great.
But who's saying he's an all-time great?
Oh, a lot of people did. About 7 days ago, they were saying it. I didn't. Of course, look, once in a while I get them wrong. This one, I told you, Usyk's going to win this fight.
You did.
Hey, is he better than Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe?
No.
That's what I'm saying. So, okay. So, I don't know how he's great. I don't know.
And by the way, anybody out there claiming that they called a fight right, come on. It was a split decision. 2 scorecards had it 1 point. Like, come on. You know what? The fight ended up being exactly what Vegas thought it was going to be, which is a coin flip.
Did you really give him a 1 point fight? I think there's an argument.
It wasn't like it was this big favorite. Tyson was what, minus 118? And
yeah, it was basically a pick'em fight.
Right. And it ended up being that on the scorecards.
Right. But I thought it was close but pretty clear. That's just my view. But anyway.